Hi, and welcome to Digital Defense. My name is Jordan Robertson. I'm a cybersecurity reporter with Bloomberg News here in Washington. And this is our weekly webcast focused on cybersecurity issues. And today we're going to be talking about, what else? The election hack. It was a big day in that subject. And, with the top intelligence chiefs testifying in front of Congress about Russia's involvement in the hacks. And I want to walk you through kind of what we know about these hacks and really why the preponderance of evidence makes Donald Trump, our president-elect, essentially an outlier, when it comes to refuting this idea that Russia was somehow involved. And as always, this is a highly interactive show. We want you to email in any questions. Please feel free to comment, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, and we will try to answer as many of them here as we can. And we appreciate everybody watching and writing in. So let's just dive right in. The big news of the day is that the intelligence chiefs, CIA and the NSA and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, they were all testifying in front of Congress, basically, reinforcing this idea that Russia was, involved and led the hacks on the U.S. election system this November and before. And, really the significance of that is there's a lot of public information out there that supports this idea. Clearly the intelligence community will have, private, classified and confidential information, about these attacks. But what we're going to focus on here today is the non-classified information and the fact that there is, an overwhelming volume of information out there publicly supporting the idea that Russia was behind this attack, and really challenging President-elect Trump's idea and tweets that this could have been some 14-year-old kid, or this could have been some 400-pound hacker in his mother's basement, both of which are things that he said. And we had an interesting thing happen this week. There's a cybersecurity researcher named Matt Tate who was on Twitter and really delivered one of the most effective kind of takedowns of this argument that I've seen, that it could have been some random kid in his basement. And I want to walk you through a few of the things that Matt laid out in his Twitter posts that really resonated with me as really, crystallizing the idea of what we know publicly and why that's so illustrative of how this could have been, Russian hackers. And, one of the first things I wanted to walk you through was this slide here. Very rare in hacking do you get to see the actual email that somebody clicked on that caused them to lose their credentials, which caused them to lose their emails, which caused this whole cascade of problems. This is the actual email that was sent to John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, that got him to surrender his Google credentials and led to his emails being leaked, all over the internet through WikiLeaks. This is it, and what you'll see is it was again. This is from Matt Tate's tweet storm. This is from the WikiLeaks archive itself. This data is in there. When they released his emails, they also released the email that got him to be hacked in the first place. And this is kind of your standard, Google alert to you that there's something wrong with your account. Someone just used your password. Here are the details. This is, the location is Ukraine. Here's the IP address. This was added later. All that John saw was this change password, button, which led to this Bitly link. He didn't see any of this. This looks, it's not a terribly alarming email in terms of there's not a lot of flares going up that this is fraudulent. But more importantly, so this is a convincing screen. The next one I want to show you is when he clicks that link, this is what he gets. So again, it's kind of rare to be able to see this, what an advanced attack looks like, and actually seeing these screenshots. And again, all of this data was released by the hackers in the WikiLeaks archive. And again, the cybersecurity researcher kind of recreated a lot of this stuff. This is a pretty convincing page, and what the attackers were doing is they were using automated tools to kind of automatically populate these pages. They were hacking thousands of people at once, including him. And what they did was whoever clicked the link, they knew who those people were, and they would auto-populate these pages, this kind of very convincing Google login page with his picture. and with his real Gmail account. And the goal is to get him to sign in here and surrender his password, thinking that he's doing something for his own security. Now again, if you look at this screen, this looks pretty good. This looks like the kind of screen that you might log into. The only thing that you'll see that will set this off as being a fraudulent page is the domain name, .tk. Obviously Google is a .com. This is not that. But if you look at the other conventions here, the naming conventions, myaccount.google.com, like it all kind of looks pretty authentic. So this is the first stage of these attacks. And as you can tell, the point of this is these are pretty convincing. A lot of people might fall for this. One of the things that I thought that was funny that Matt did was, he really took aim at this idea that, these attackers were, again, 14-year-old kids, in their mother's basement. These are the targets of this attacking group. They made a few mistakes in the way that they did the attack, and it allowed cybersecurity research to see who their other targets were, just like Podesta, just like we just saw. So this is not some 14-year-old kid hacking aviation professionals, government personnel, former and current military, aerospace, journalists, NGO officials, political activists, government supply chain officials. Like, again, we're talking about hundreds and in some cases thousands of individuals that fit this profile. Again, the relevance here is this is all public data about who these attackers were targeting. This is not just some one-off, some guy got lucky. This is the universe, this is the ecosystem of people who these attackers were targeting in addition to, Democratic operatives. This is pretty illustrative. I mean, this is the fact that nearly half of the individuals targeted, are former and current military should tell you a lot about the interest of these attackers. We're getting some questions here. I want to address these before we move on here. What action is being taken, if any, to punish the hackers? This has been one of Obama's, kind of last major moves is issuing sanctions, against individuals suspected of being involved in this attack. And those individuals are primarily members of Russia's military intelligence, operations, like the chief of, Russia's military intelligence unit, some deputies, as well as a couple of private sector individuals believed to have been involved in this attack. The U.S. intelligence community has not released many specifics about why they believe these individuals were involved or how they were involved specifically in these attacks. But presumably that's what President Obama got briefed on this morning, and that's what President-elect Trump will be briefed on tomorrow, which is what are the specific sources and methods the U.S. has for identifying, how you make the link between attackers who did this and the attackers, and the people who were sanctioned. He also expelled some 35 Russian diplomats from the U.S. who were believed to have been spies. The rationale given for that was that the U.S. diplomats in Russia have faced, increased harassment, and surveillance, and there's a spy versus spy game that always goes on. So expelling spies or suspected spies is not necessarily that unusual, but this was a lot of them, but there was no direct link made between that and the attacks. Next question is, what are some tips we can use to identify fake emails or websites? I like this one because this gets to questions, to advice that we've given for a long time. If we scroll back here, let's go all the way back to the initial email. This is kind of patient zero. You get to the second email of this is pretty convincing. If you never get there, though, you're so much better off. So when you get an email like this, someone just used your password to try to log into your Gmail, they give you some IP address, they something scary, some kind of scary message like this. The mantra, and I'm like a broken record about this, if anything comes to you unsolicited on the internet, you probably don't want it. Somebody offering you a prize, somebody offering you a gift card, even somebody apparently telling you somebody's trying to hack your Gmail account. So my advice is if you get an email like this, you may want to take it seriously if it's convincing enough like this would be, but then don't click on the link. Just don't click the link. Just go to Google on your own, type in google.com, Gmail, wherever you're going, log in, on your own, and change your password that way. Just don't click links. You can use it as a data point to investigate further, but just don't go past here. And that's kind of the main advice, because everything that happens from that, hackers are really skilled at getting you to give up your passwords, give up your credit card numbers and things like that once they convince you to click this first link. The click-through rates, once somebody falls for this first kind of trap, are very high. So just don't click the link the first time, and you'll be a lot better off. And also, I can't stress this enough, turn on two-factor authentication. So these are text message alerts that you get to your phone that tell you anytime somebody's going to log into trying to log into your account. John Podesta clearly did not have that, because if he did, he would have gotten an alert to his phone, hey, somebody's trying to log into your Gmail account. Here's the special code you need. He didn't get that. All he got was this email. He clicked it. He surrendered his password, and that was that. So those two things, nothing unsolicited. Don't click on it, and turn on two-factor authentication. Next question here is this hack ongoing, and are we still at risk? Another question that I like, because the fact of the matter was, after the DNC hackers were outed, prior to the election, they went on another blitz of hacking. It was not enough to say, it's not enough if you come home and you spot a burglar in your home and that burglar runs away. It'd be like if that burglar went and just robbed all of your neighbors' homes right after that. So what happened was the attackers were outed in the DNC hack, and cybersecurity researchers almost immediately saw a blitz of further attacks against congressmen, against other government officials, using this kind of same approach, the same attack infrastructure, the same software in many cases, and the interpretation among some of them was that these guys knew that their window of opportunity was closing, and they were trying to take advantage of this attack infrastructure they've built up. But in answer to the question, the answer here is this was effective. We're having congressional hearings about it. We've got the president and the president-elect discussing this, and there are sanctions issued. There were diplomats expelled. Why would you stop something that's been this effective? And the fact of the matter is, not everybody's going to turn on two-factor authentication. People are going to click on links that are unsolicited to them. So these hacks are effective, and they're not going to stop for that reason. Next question is, what sort of malware could have helped system recognize this was an attack? So I think what the question is saying is, what sort of antivirus software, what sort of security software might have helped John Podesta's system recognize this was an attack? So the problem with blocking attacks like this is, today cybersecurity systems are really good at blocking straight up malware coming into your system. So the moment the attacker tries to inject malware into your system, there's some pretty good tools for detecting that. The problem is when it's something like this and you give up your credential, it's a phishing email. They were able to dupe your email provider into delivering this message, which is not that hard. And you click on that and you give up your password. The next time somebody tries to log into your account as there's not a whole lot that any security software can do to block that access. So in terms of what kind of security software would protect somebody like Podesta against this attack, the answer is there isn't a lot. After that, in terms of if somebody tries to install malware on his personal computer, there are tools for that. But that wasn't the damaging part about this. The lesson really is, don't get past the first link. Don't click the first link, and you don't need to worry about a ton after that. Next question here. I like all the questions. Thanks very much for submitting them. Keep them coming. Did the NSA come out and verify that the other people in this attack were attacked by Russian hackers as well? Yeah, the intelligence community has basically affirmed that this universe of attacks that we're talking about here, and we'll scroll back here, that this is this same Russian threat actor group. There's a caveat there that, as with the U.S. to some degree, but especially in Russia, the use of third parties to do government work, kind of government contract hacking work, is a pretty big deal. It happens a lot. So that's why these private sector individuals, were believed to have been, sanctioned as well, is that they played some sort of role, whether that was the initial penetration and sending the initial phishing emails, and maybe they handed it off to Russian military intelligence. Those kinds of things are theorized to happen. But yeah, this group, this attack group, I mean, the key part about this tweet storm that I referred to at the top of the show is that it kind of amassed all of this information, all in one place. And in case you're interested in seeing that, this guy tweets at pwn all the things, PWN all the things. That's hacker slang for owning, which means hacking all the things. This hacking group, this is who they were targeting. This is their universe of people who were targeted. And then there's another slide I wanted to show you on that same topic. These are the places that the hackers were interested in. predominantly interested in targets in Russia, in Ukraine, military spouses. So if you're a family member of current or former military, you're a target as well. Global affairs, Northeast Asia. So you can see kind of, between the previous slide and this one, the things that these attackers are interested in are not your normal hacking interests. They're not looking for credit cards. They're not looking for, anything that could be used to be monetized. This is very specific information that doesn't have a lot of value for any ordinary cyber criminal. This is, military kind of intelligence value, kind of exclusively. Next question here was, John Podesta holds a very high office position. Does our government not have anything to protect from these basic scam emails? Well, certainly in the campaign, John Podesta's, role as Hillary's, campaign chairperson, meant that he had considerable influence over and would hold high office, presumably, if Hillary had won. The government has a lot of tools and techniques to protect, I would say, networks and systems. So, attacks coming into the country, it's likely that the government saw some of these attacks kind of coming into the country in terms of we collect everything. We collect every, bit of data flowing over the internet. The problem becomes, how do you flag it as this is the Russian government trying to influence the elections? Hackers are really good at disguising their origins. So you may know it's a malicious attack, but you may not know the purpose, and you may not know the intent behind it. So the problem becomes, if you're trying to attack a system like, let's say, the U.S. Army's computer network, we're pretty good at defending those. We're not so good, and nobody's really as good at protecting individuals. Again, this was somebody's private email account. Now, Google, I should say, we've heard from lots of cybersecurity experts, is very, very good at protecting its systems. It got hacked by China in 2009 and has been kind of on a mission to secure its systems. And then especially after Edward Snowden's revelations, in 2013, this is, they do a good job of protecting their systems from external hacks. There's not a lot you can do when what you're talking about is individuals surrendering credentials. Like I will sound like a broken record if you watch this show with any regularity. If the attack is motivated to get you to give up your login for a website, that's very hard for a website to protect against. That's very hard for a government to protect against, because, as I say, the intelligence community can see things. They can see, attacks crossing the wire, but it's very hard to know, what should their role be? Should their role be to block everything that might be malicious? The problem there is a lot of these attacks are launched from legitimate servers, legitimate computers that are hacked. So mine and your, personal laptop that's been hacked, these attacks are launched from there. So it's a really tricky problem. It's not as binary as this is malicious, block it, nuke the server. There are lots of shades of gray here. So even if you think something might be malicious, what's the government's role in blocking that? That has not been settled. It's far from settled. The next question is, could Donald Trump get this sort of email too? I would be shocked if Donald Trump is not already hacked. I mean, you hear this all the time from cybersecurity professionals. It's not a question of whether someone will get hacked. It's who's hacked and they don't know it. And that goes for corporations, that goes for individuals. Donald Trump leading such a public life. He's been hacked before. He said on his Twitter that there were, previous hacking attempts that may have been successful against him, years ago. The fact of the matter is, anybody who works, kind of lives on the internet is going to be a target for this stuff. And he's been, before he got into public life, political life rather, a target, kind of a pretty big target. So, the idea that he may not be hacked is kind of improbable, to say the least. So we've gotten some great questions here. Really want to thank everybody for watching. Again, we do this every week. If you want to send us some questions offline, on my Twitter handle is @JordanR1000, JORDANR1000. Would be happy to take some questions and then try to answer them next week. We try to cover topics of the week, but also offer you kind of, kind of solid advice about, what's the average person supposed to do to protect against these kind of attacks and to interpret the news. So we hope it's helpful, and as always, we do this every week. So thanks very much, and we'll see you next week on Digital Defense.